Hi, my name is Brooke Lipman.
And I'm Dr. Deb Lipman.
And this is Wine Together,
a podcast where we drink some wine and have a chat.
So sit back, relax, and get that corkscrew ready.
Your wine, because again, I'm still, folks, still drinking my juice, but this is just one of those table wines that they say in Europe, a table wine that people drink for every day.
Okay.
It is from southern France, the Rhone region. And I like what I read about it because they take, it has to have, I think, 40% of the dark red grape, Greenick, something noir. Anyway, I meant to look up how to say it and I forgot. And then it also has to have at least 15% of Syrah grapes, which I love the Syrah grapes.
Yeah.
And so I think it was kind of interesting. I'm pretty sure I've had that one before.
I think,
because it is a very inexpensive table wine that we tend to just pick up and drink for kind of an everyday wine, and I like it. So it's smooth, it's fruity, floral. So you've got all that, but I don't remember any vanilla or anything from it before, so I'm not sure what you have. But these they from this region where they put the blends, because this is considered a blend, or cuvée in French. They're between 12 and 14% alcohol content.
Okay.
And this is a wine that, yes, most people from that region would pick up this bottle of wine. This would be just their everyday one.
Okay.
Not for special occasions.
Okay.
So it's, which I like it. They said it's a strong wine that doesn't taste too alcoholic.
Okay.
Have you tried it yet?
Yeah.
And you get the same sense that it's a strong wine, not too, well, you wouldn't have it strong yet because you just started tasting it, but it doesn't taste alcoholic.
No, I think it tastes like grapes.
Oh, okay. Well, well, if it's just juice, maybe I should have that.
No. I mean, you can, it tastes like wine.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay.
How's your cranberry juice?
It's good. It's refreshing because we just walked home.
Yes, we did.
We walked home. It took us about 45 minutes to walk back from the store that we went to because it was going to take the bus much longer.
Yes.
So it took us 45 minutes, probably would have taken an hour and a half if we'd have waited for the bus.
Yeah.
So it's better to get to walk.
Yeah.
And it was such a great day out.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously had the wrong clothes on at the time for that because
I was much better. I mean, I was not in something really warm, but still not walking in the woods kind of clothes.
Yeah, it definitely. But it was nice, We got to, we recognized that path is very doable to go to that store. And the lady at the counter.
I
know. Trying to ease the tension, I guess she felt.
Yeah.
I felt she was going to take the bottle of wine. She was so funny. So anyway, shout out to the lady at the kiosk at Colt and Beaverus. You were delightful. Yeah. You really just made our day. So thanks for making us smile. Yeah, definitely appreciate that. And I think that we need to start getting a habit of shouting out to people that So I definitely, obviously, I don't have to say shout out to you because you're right here with me. But to my other children, Justin, Mason, Ren, and Amelia, shout out to all of you. I really appreciate you guys and love you all. Yes. And Crystal, really appreciate you and your beautiful children. I won't use their names since you haven't given me permission yet to do that. But please, and to our friends who have donated bottles of wine. We have a white wine now. You're not allowed to drink that white wine that we received on Saturday.
Okay.
Until I can drink one again. Also, the one we got that the lady at the store tried to steal.
Okay.
It was just a joke. She was making a joke. We can't drink that one until I can drink one too. So I don't know when that'll be.
I don't know because we have so many wines that I'm not allowed to drink.
I know.
That means I just have to go and buy more wine.
Yeah,
for me to drink.
Get these little daily. What was that? Was it Afia that was the daily drinking one? Which one was that?
I don't remember.
That was so funny. Yeah. Just reading that was kind of funny, but we did kind of want to talk about self-care today. Mm-hmm. There's so many little boxes that ticks. What is self-care? So tell me what your definition of self-care.
I don't know. I mean, just making sure like you're taking care of not just like your physical body, but your mental body as well. Mm-hmm. And just taking the time to relax when you need it, and not overly stressing about if you're gonna get everything done.
Yeah. Well, I never. My list is always long, so I know I'm never gonna get everything done.
I mean, it was like how earlier you were stressing about and I made you keep going down that path because I told you that we should have gone the other way, and you were like, "No, it's this way." So when we could have turned back.
And technically, okay, so yeah, I think that way that you were saying going was technically the bicycle path.
Okay, yeah.
But I didn't realize that it was the path that I was on Sunday on the bike. So I didn't realize, I just didn't recall it coming out. But I think that right past there, where that dog was, I think was where the tree was over the path. I was wondering if it was still there, so I didn't get to see. But I do stress. I stress about everything, everything, and I don't know why. I don't know why I do that. I don't know if it's part of my upbringing. I don't know if it's part of my probably undiagnosed autism. I don't know what it is. I really never think I can get everything correct. And I finally come to, look, I know it's only been in the last 6 months. But over the last 6 months, I have come to a realization that things aren't going to be perfect. But, for 58 and a half years, I really did strive for perfection. So that is it's good that I've realized, that that's just not going to happen. But it's kind of hard for me not to kind of worry, I guess, about everything. I know I've probably said this on here before, but my German teacher, one day because we had to go online, during COVID. And one day I got online early and she realized I was on, so she came on early so we could have just a few minutes. And she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, because at that time I really did stress about everything. Yeah. And she said, I said, I just worry about my kids. And she said, "Oh yeah." She said, "Kleine Kinder, kleine Sorge. Große Kinder, große Sorge." Yeah. She said it was a Turkish lady that told her that. That's kind of an old Turkish saying. And it just translates to little kids, little worries. Big kids, big worries. Yeah. And it's so true. And so now, kleine Kinder, kleine Sorge, große Kinder, große Sorge is kind of stuck in my head because it is true. And I know that y'all have all proven to me that there's no reason for me to worry. Things worked out. I mean, what a great... Was it last Wednesday we found out everything, or last Thursday?
But...
Amelia got a job. Rand got an apartment. All in one day. And it was just like, what? It just, wow. Just, it did work out. Things worked out. Yeah.
Things work out. That's what I after freshman year of college, I started realizing, wow, I really will get everything done. Even if I do it on the day it's due, it will get done, right? So I stopped worrying about, oh my God, I'm not going to get it done, because I was just overly stressing myself out.
Yeah. So when you were stressing out like that, did you find your skincare routine had to change some?
Well, my skincare routine, I actually learned from my freshman roommate.
Yes.
Because
I remember her saying you don't need toner, and I'm don't listen.
I mean, now my skin has changed a little bit, and I have to figure out. I mean, I went through I had one face wash that was actually doing really well for my face, but I can't find it here. So I have to find something that's similar. I still have a little bit of it in the cabinet, but I think it's expired, so I'm just going to look at it and see if I can find something similar to it here. Because recently the one I've been using hasn't been working, and I don't know if that's because now I've started wearing makeup every day, that now, like, obviously that's changed as well.
Yeah.
Even though I'm doing, like, the proper steps to keep it from, like, getting, like, into your skin and all that. But I also probably need to be washing my pillowcases more often.
Yes, you probably do. You probably should wash those once a week.
Yeah.
But, and that's not that big a deal.
Yeah, no, pillowcases are easy. But now it's so tough to get my pillows off my bed.
Yeah, well, got a little bit of work, right, to do. Sometimes the work gets harder as we get older. You know, certain things we have to. I can remember, you know, I did not grow up with a skincare routine. I didn't, you know, I just remember as a teenager my mother saying, don't wash your face with soap.
Yeah.
Unless it was Ivory soap. Okay. I don't know if you know Ivory soap. Nope. Do you know Ivory soap?
Nope.
It's 99.44% pure something, whatever. It was, you know, that was the slogan back in the day. But I grew up on Ivory soap. Like that was my body wash, face wash as a kid, like little kid in the bathtub kind of thing. And so we didn't have, you know, all these special soaps and stuff. We had a bar of Ivory soap. Ew. And everybody used the same bar soap.
Ew.
I know, gross.
That's also really bad for your skin to share things like that.
I understand, but, you know, poor household.
Yeah.
Little tub. Guess what? Sister and I shared the same bath water.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is, you know, when you grow up poor, you don't have options.
Yeah.
So I didn't have options.
Yeah.
And so, but I remember as a young adult, you know, because I wore a little bit of makeup in high school. Probably not every day, you know, because, you know, it would have just sweated into my eyes during softball practice or whatever, volleyball, whatever practice I had at the time of that time of year. So I didn't wear, you know, makeup often. But sometimes I would wear makeup, but I still didn't have like a skincare routine. But then as I became a young adult and was working, I did wear makeup more often and got into these, you know, people selling skincare products. And I remember every time I would go to one of these parties, they would always say, oh, you have such beautiful skin. I didn't realize they were supposed to say that.
Yeah.
I really, narcissistic me, really thought they were talking about my skin. They thought my skin was this great. And it took me, you know, when I came to that realization that this is their thing that they do, I think I got really angry. Because I thought, why do you say stuff like that if you technically are just saying that, if you don't mean it? So anyway, not that my skin was horrible, but still, you know, they were saying it. I thought they meant it. Really, they were just trying to make a sale. So I think back on that and I get angry. But anyway, I do still have a very simple routine. I make sure that if I've worn makeup, I wash it. But as I've aged, I've had to get into a routine.
Yeah.
I have to have a different moisturizer for the day that I have to have then at night. So I do have my different moisturizers, and I have, you know, certain moisturizer for around the edges of my eyes. And not that I'm not going to, the wrinkles are here. I'm not going to prevent them. It's not that. And it's just, you know, your skin's your biggest organ. Yeah. Got to take care of it.
I know. I need to do a little more research for my routine because I still don't even know for sure what skin type I have.
Right.
Because, that also changes over time.
It does change.
And so,
yeah,
but, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, one thing I know that I definitely didn't teach you, and didn't know if I guess it was my responsibility, but just didn't take it serious. But like when you get out of the bath or shower, you should put lotion on.
Yeah, I know. I'm really bad about about doing that because
this is so weird. If I shower at night, I'll never forget my lotion.
I mean, that makes sense because, in the morning, there's so much to do. Because I already have to
My body does not get the lotion.
It already takes me a while in the bathroom because I have to moisturize after I get out of the shower. Then I have to put my contacts in, which can take anywhere from 2 seconds to 30 minutes because sometimes they just don't want to cooperate. And then I have to comb my hair, which also takes 20 minutes because it gets really tangled overnight and then it gets really tangled in the shower. And then now I have to clean my piercings after I shower, so it's like...
So, for your hair, do you condition every time you shampoo?
Oh, every time I shampoo? Yeah, but I only shampoo and condition once a week.
Okay, and that's me. About once a week, which was yesterday. But for some reason, my hair did not get the volume it normally gets.
Okay.
Oh, no, it was actually this morning that I shampooed and conditioned. It wasn't last night. Because last night, I got home a little late, so I didn't... So this morning, and it just didn't get, I was just thinking, I've been back 5 months. And so my hair has I'm finally no longer, because I lived for almost 5 months in a camper. And bathed, did my skincare routine, bathed or showered, and washed my hair in well water.
Yeah.
In North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina well water. So guess what? My hair, when I first came back here, my hair was a mess. A mess. And it's just now getting back to where it can hold its volume and, look good sometimes. So... that hair care, I think that's probably the first time I really recognized was when I got back here.
Yeah.
That wow, I need to take care of my hair.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, this whole talking about self-care. There's hair care, skin care, mental health care, physical health care. There's so much that goes into it. So imagine someone who is already predispositioned to anxiety, predispositioned to rule following. And most of you who are hearing this are probably saying, she's talking about autistic people. Yes, I am. We are predestined to follow the rules. If we hear a rule, we try to put it into our routine. And then eventually you're just living life following a whole bunch of rules. And it is very stressful. So I think that I want to figure out how to say to people, yes, these tend to be the rules, but you can't always be perfect about, fitting them into the everyday. I think that's what I need to hear.
Okay. I try to make my routine, specific so I can... get it done every day because I do get stressed out if I have a routine and I can't get something from that routine done. It stresses me out, or if I can't do it in the order that I need to do it in.
Well, what about vitamins? Do you take vitamins for self-care?
No, because they were. I remember I was, and it was making me sick or something, or it just not working for me because. If I'm taking vitamins, I tend to overhydrate because with vitamins, because they put so much into the vitamins that you take, it makes it seem like you're dehydrated when you go to the bathroom. And so I was drinking too much water, which is also a problem. So, because water is so also important to all kinds of care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's water, and it's almost like if you're healthy for the most part, water is almost your cure-all. It strengthens your fingernails. It helps it is vital for good hair care. Because of, the way your hair grows. That hydration is vital because the water is what helps with homeostasis inside the body. Make sure your cells are, hydrated like the rest of, water's very important.
Well, speaking of nails, I haven't bitten my nails in almost a year.
Proud of you. So wow. I wish I could say that. That makes me want to hide my hands. Because I do not. I try. I mean, I'm doing better.
Yeah. I've been picking a little bit at the skin around my nails, which is still a problem.
That's exactly what's wrong right now.
I haven't bitten my nails, which is really good.
Yeah.
It's also good better for your teeth to not do that.
Yes, absolutely.
But,
yeah. There's so much that goes into taking care of ourselves. And then imagine that responsibility for others. So moms and dads out there taking care of children, we see you, we hear you, we know what a difficult
and people
but rewarding job you have.
Older people too,
and
is a lot tougher.
Those out there taking care of elderly family members, shout out to you, because that is a very tough position to be in. Yes, elder care is, and it's likely something most of us are going to face someday. But so important that, I think the big word there is care. It's I think everybody has a different opinion on what it means to care. What is it, Deanne? What does it mean to care?
Don't know. I don't know how to explain it without saying the word care.
It is one of those words that you cannot define without saying the word care, but it manifests in many different ways. Like how would you say it manifests? How can you know someone cares?
Well, trying to do something nice for other people, or just saying nice things and helping people out when they ask for help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's so funny because most of us don't, I don't want to say most of us, a lot of people, because we're not taught, it's not that we're stupid, it's because it's just not the way, especially not in the United States, we're not taught to read between the lines. It's not in our culture. It's more in an Asian culture. They definitely teach you to read between the lines, read the room, blah, blah, blah. But it's not necessarily our culture because we teach to the test in the United States. And so everything has to be so specific that, is it on the test kind of thing. And so we don't teach, that reading between the lines and that recognizing when somebody needs you to, stop talking or whatever. And I think that in order to show that kind of care, like the adult to the child kind of care, it's, like you were saying, doing for somebody. But, maybe the child to adult is to the listening and doing as you're asked. So that does show care. I think just every day, the cleaning up behind someone, the doing their laundry for them, cooking, making sure things are kind of stored away in a tidy place and accessible place. I think that shows care.
Yeah.
But I don't think everybody sees that. So I know there's a lot of moms out there or stay-at-home homemakers, and I know you feel like people don't see how you care, but I know how you care. I recognize it, and I think I think many times I wanted someone to say to me, "Wow, you just do such a good job with blah blah blah," and I think that would have showed me that they care.
Okay.
But
I mean, because to me, I feel like I am pretty good about saying thank you for when you guys do something for me. And so, I mean, because that's one thing where it's like, you see it like a lot on like TV shows and stuff where they're like, oh, like kids don't say thank you or whatever. And so like I do always try to say like thank you to show like, oh, I appreciate it.
That's another word, right? That kind of means the same thing as care, as I appreciate. Yeah. I know. It's just it's so hard. It's hard to even take care of ourselves, much less other people. So I think that kind of the physical self-care that we were talking about, and it's so different from the mental health care.
Not always. When you're physically healthy, you can be mentally healthy, and if you're mentally healthy, it helps with your physical health too. So it kind of
like feedback on each other.
Yeah, they like help each other. That's why like there are some people who are having like some mental health issues that it can be helped by like exercise and like physical. Not always,
Absolutely.
But sometimes, yeah, like going outside and like going on a walk or something can help with certain things.
I will say, exercise has been a lifesaver to me. And I know I don't look like I exercise. I don't look like it. And, you know, it's not like I overeat. I don't overeat. But this is just the way my body is shaped. I don't think a lot of people understand that. You know, I think some people look at a body like mine and they think, she must, you know, eat dessert every day. She must eat too much.
I think you are overthinking how much people think about you.
Yeah, maybe. Because, but I'm just saying that, you know, society sees a certain size, a certain shape of body, and they have certain thoughts about that person.
Well, that's definitely changing a lot more now. It's not like it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I hope not, because, I mean, you know, it hurts when it's people close to you that shame you like that. That's hurtful. So I really hope I never do that to somebody, because I don't think that shows care. I think some people think that it's showing care because they're saying, "I just want you to be healthy." That's not showing care. So careful with that. That kind of, you know, letting your personal feelings about how people look, letting that show up in your language and in your conversation as care. Got to be careful with that, because that doesn't show care. Yeah. But you know, I don't. Yeah. Mental health, I think, is. I don't think it's. I don't know. I don't think that we have a complete grasp of what it is for every single person.
Yeah.
And because I certainly don't. I mean, you know, my whole family, everybody has, you know, different things that bother them, and it just, you know, I can't even keep them all straight sometimes. Like I think you said something to me about, why do I always have to keep telling you this? Well, sorry, you just have to keep telling me. And I can't keep everybody's likes and dislikes necessarily.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily what it's about. It's about like the things that, like, teaching you how to use something or do something. You need to be able to retain that, because you can't expect people to always be there to like go through it with you one step at a time. Right? You have to learn how to like do it by yourself sometimes. And I think you do struggle with that.
I think because we're likely probably talking about something that I don't do often. And if it's something I don't do often, I'm not gonna, like, you know, I can still drive even though I haven't driven in 6 years.
Well, that's not true. You've driven in.
Well, that's true. When I was in the U.S., I was forced to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's funny because when I think of self-care, I think of being safe.
Okay.
And this, because of riding my bike a lot more recently, I think, okay, I have to wear safe colors, wear the vest if I don't have a color that I feel like is going to be visibly seen well, stay on bike paths, those kinds of things. And that doesn't always happen, when I'm riding with your dad. And that came out in the conversation Sunday when we got to our destination. By the time we got there, I was in tears. I was like, I can't do this. I can't be on paths that are, have this tall cliff on one side. I'm terrified I'm going to fall down the cliff. And then he has a dream Sunday night and wakes up in the middle of the night and calls. He saw me going down the cliff on the bike. I said, you should not take me to those places then. It was very scary. I feel like safety kind of comes into the self-care conversation. 100% safety does. And it's so funny because when we first moved here, everybody talked about how safe it is. And honestly, even when you came home late at night, and in the winter, it was really dark by the time you got home. And I can remember a couple of times I'd asked, do you feel safe? And you were like, yeah, I feel safe. But I think that's even changed here.
Oh, yeah,
since
definitely.
Then. It's not as safe here as
no,
it
it's
used
not.
to be.
But it's not like it's safe anywhere, really. I mean...
Yeah. So, those who are causing our spaces to be unsafe, you're not showing care. You don't even care for yourself if you're doing stuff like that.
No, but they don't give a crap. That's why, yeah.
So how do you teach care? How do you teach care for others?
I mean, you can't. It can't be necessarily
and whose responsibility is it?
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily taught. It's shown, right?
I guess.
And there are some people that just cannot pick that up.
Do you think it's because they don't want to?
Well, certain people can't mentally understand it.
Well, that's a different story.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Because a lot of those people are not the ones wreaking havoc with guns and knives and Molotov cocktails. They're not the ones, making our spaces unsafe. That's just, I don't know. Do you remember y'all had something in your middle school y'all had to repeat every morning, and it always says, "And safety comes first." That was the S in RMS.
Oh,
and you always thought it was so
pledge?
Funny. Yeah.
The Rams pledge. You always care about anyone's safety.
No, I'm saying you always thought it was so bizarre that y'all had to say safety comes first. Last.
Because, it was the last.
It should be safety comes first, should be first. Yeah, I always thought that was kind of funny how you saw that.
Yeah. Honestly, I think by the end of middle school, I stopped saying any pledges. And I had teachers in high school that got very upset if you didn't say the Pledge of Allegiance. And that is not the most, culty, kind of, I get being nationalistic, but having to say a pledge to your country, is that not that's kind of messed up.
I remember.
I'm sorry, but
I was the teacher that said, you don't have to say this if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't have to stand up for it.
I went to school with people that were not from the U.S. and being forced to say that every day is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that, I do remember one year, I would say to everybody, okay, they're going to come on you, they're going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, but if you're not comfortable standing for this and repeating it, you don't have to, because you live in the United States, and it is your right to refuse to say that if you choose. And I'm not making anybody do anything. I said I will stand with you guys if that's what you want to do. And so there were some that wanted to, there were some that didn't want to, and there was never anyone. I only had one student who questioned my reasoning for that, and he really thought that it was rude of me to say that was okay for people not to repeat it. And I said, well, I need you to understand that, to me, being forced to say a pledge is kind of infringing on your freedom of speech. Yeah. Because you shouldn't be told what your speech is. That's not freedom when you're told what your speech is.
But one thing that, like, when I was really little, I actually thought the Pledge of Allegiance was kind of like a national anthem where, like, every country had one. And it wasn't until I was, like, in middle school or high school that I realized that not every country has to say a Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah. There is not one for every... It's only the United States. Or, I mean, maybe certain other countries in Asia, but, or just...
Yeah, I don't... See, because I don't know... I think a lot of that might be part of the public education system, too. Yeah. And I don't know... I don't know how the education system is everywhere. I've only studied a few places, education system, a few countries, and it's called public education. I mean, everywhere that, that I've studied, the term is basically public education. But there's still private education in most of these places as well. And so I think that, I can't think of anywhere they might be forced to say some kind of pledge like that. Because that's more like for military.
Yeah. I know, yeah. Well, the U.S., like, they kind of try to trick you into joining the military out of high school by making, obviously college is expensive because they decided it should be.
Thank you, Mr. Reagan. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And so it kind of, like, forces a lot of kids to join the military, and you're already kind of conditioned into following the rules just by going to public school because you get in trouble if you don't. Like, I had teachers that would take points off if you didn't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. They couldn't take points off for you not saying it. That was a very specific line that they couldn't cross because, again, freedom of speech. But they could
making you stand is also infringing on your freedom.
Yes, but they were hoping we wouldn't understand it because there were a lot of things growing up in public school in the U.S. They purposely don't teach you, so you don't understand it, and it's about to get worse. But we're not talking about politics.
Yeah, so. I do think it's about to get worse, and it's certainly not showing care. I don't see care in that equation.
Well, they don't care about education, so.
I think a lot of people, when they think of care in the family, they think it's they think it's basically I'm giving you a house to live in. I'm helping feed you, and they only see that part of it as the care part.
But that's like required. Like, if you don't want to do that, don't have a kid.
Hard to use that word.
If you don't want to do all that, then don't have a kid.
If you can't love your queer kids, don't have kids. Okay, I'm just going to say that. But anyway, we've got to make sure this month, at the end of everyone, we say shout out to our community, LGBTQIA plus community, and say that we are proud and we stand with you. We will do that at the end. But I think that, along what you say, if you can't care for your kids, don't have kids. I'm in that camp. And, that's why I say, somebody had put something years ago. I saw this meme that said, "If you can't love your queer kids, don't have kids."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in that. I'm that mama.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that offends some people. It
Mm-hmm.
might offend people very close to me, but and I'm not saying that I only love my queer kids, because I love you others too. But I just, yeah, I love my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so thankful that they know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Even because, as parents, I think sometimes we go into that role thinking we have to do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, what we have to do is care
Mm-hmm.
and respect. That's my job, is care for and respect, so that you find yourself. It's not my job to find you. It's not my job to tell you who you're supposed to become. That's up to you. And I think that was hard for me to learn, because I didn't grow up with that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up with the freedom to be who I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely want my kids to be able to grow up to be who they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Not want to be, who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Let them be. I just want them to be you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, one thing that I didn't talk about when we were talking about skincare stuff, what drives me crazy is when people sleep in their makeup. Don't do that.
I have been drunk enough that I slept in my makeup.
It's
Sorry.
I can't. It's so bad, not just for your skin, but also for your pillowcases.
And because then what that transferred, then the next night,
it's so bad.
It is bad.
Because I knew someone that would always sleep in their makeup, and I would say, like, you're not supposed to do that, and they.
It's really not good for your skin.
No,
it is not good. Clogging your pores. Bad. It just.
Yeah.
And we're talking years of bad effects that could come from that if it becomes a habit.
Yeah. And I had recitals that ended late, and I always took the makeup off.
Yep. Yeah,
always.
Yeah.
I mean, that was always the best part of the day. The hair down, the makeup off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's so bad. I was like, I really want to say that.
Okay, good.
Because I care for other people's skin too.
Yes.
Make sure you take your makeup off.
That's a good one. So, what we were saying, it is Pride Month.
Yes.
And so, we, yes, we're one of those families that, we're proud of the queer kids in our family. In fact, last week was just a phenomenal week for them, because one got a job, one got their own apartment, and wow, that was a big stress reliever.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, now there's the stress of, okay, now we got to get into that new apartment, now we got to get it cleaned up and set up, and blah blah blah, and then starting the new job, that can be stressful. So, but we want to say to the queer community.
You didn't tell me what I was supposed to say.
I know. You got to. You're on your own. What do you say?
Oh gosh.
To your queer friends, what would you say?
I would say just take care of yourself and be safe. Especially now, things are really intense in a lot of places, and. Yeah, and, there's always people who care about you and are there for you. You're not alone, and, yeah.
Yeah, we are definitely on your side.
Yeah. And if you watch and you ever just want to talk to someone, you can leave a comment. Absolutely. Or, message us.
Absolutely.
Somewhere.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Honestly, someone who, if you honestly believe your family and friends cannot accept you, you know that we will. Mm-hmm. Just know that we do. Because everyone deserves peace and care and respect. And we want to make sure that no one in the community that would listen to us and watch us feels that they are not accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Follow the rules, please people. Just be kind to each other and care for each other. Be safe. I don't know. I think that's kind of the best I can say.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
so we appreciate you guys listening and watching.
We'll be back next week with a new bottle of wine and a new topic. If you want to join the conversation, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Wine Together Pod. Join our Facebook group, Wine Together Podcast. And if you don't want to miss out on our regular weekly episodes along with all our bonus content, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, as well as liking, subscribing, and commenting on our YouTube, Wine Together Podcast.